Hi there. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important elements when it comes to vegetable gardening, and that is watering your plants, or as we like to call it, irrigation. Now, my name is Calvin Gardner. I'm the Urban Residential Horticulture Extension Agent for Orange County, Florida, and I work with residents all throughout the county with their backyard gardens and their community gardens. And watering plants is one of the most common questions that I get. And so today we're going to tackle the question of how much water do I give to my plants? So follow us throughout this video as we continue to figure out what was the appropriate amount of water to give to each of your plants. So all plants need water, but they don't need too much water. If you give a plant too much water, it's going to have wet feet, which causes all sorts of diseases and issues with the plant. And if you don't give them enough water, they're going to be drought stressed, and that can cause many issues and attract many more pests and make them weaken to any of these pressures. So how do we find the right amount of water? Well, it comes down to three simple things, and that's going to be the plant, the environment, and your soil. So if you can figure out all three of these elements, you will be well on your way to understanding what the right amount of water to give your plant is. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is our plant. Now, what do we mean when we're talking about what our plant is? Well, clearly there's some lines between the types of plants you're growing. If you're growing a cactus, clearly most of the time it's going to want less water. But when we're talking about vegetable plants specifically, we really want to know about what stage the plant is in, because we suggest that when you have a plant that is in a younger, more seedling-like stage, like this little plant right here, it wants less water more frequently, which in that way we like to say that you can maybe run your irrigation once early in the morning and then a little bit later, maybe in the early afternoon, to get them that extra water. Now, when you have an older plant like these plants over here, they want more water, but they want it less frequently. So watering once a day is often more than suffice for them. Why we don't particularly give exactly how much to water is because our second topic of watering plants is your weather and your environment, which means if you're keeping an eye on how much it's raining, it's going to affect how often you're going to be watering and how much water you're going to be giving them. So let's dive into the last topic here, which is your soil, and we will look into why your soil is the last determining factor to make sure you are watering your plants adequately. So if I could give you one major key point to having the correct amount of water in your soil, it's going to come down to what your soil type is like, and we always want to be aiming for the consistency of a wrung out sponge. We want it to be damp, but we don't want it to be sopping wet. And so a lot of that is going to be determined on how you take care of your soil. Now, if you use our native Florida soils, you're going to have a very sandy base, and sand drains very quickly. So you may find yourself watering more often. But as you add more organic matter like compost or mulch, you'll find that it will hold on to water a lot better. So it's something we want to aim for as we work through our soil during the season. So take a good note of what your soil is like and how long it holds on to water. And if you can come up to your soil and you can squeeze it and feel a little bit of moisture in it, it certainly helps. And to have a soil that can hold on to that longer and longer for longer periods of time without being completely drenched or soaking wet, which can be hard on the plant's roots. Now, one last tip, if you want to be able to conserve more water in your bed, you can always mulch around your plants, because mulch does a great job of adding organic matter to the soil and also creating a barrier for evaporation to take place on top of your soil. One of the last tips I want to talk about is irrigation. So in terms of having a true irrigation system, that is going to be a drip system or a bubbler system. Right here I have a micro emitter here, which are these little kits that you can purchase online. They're very easy to set up and plug into your hose bib, and you can even put a hose bib timer on there and have them run on their own, which is a great step for the home gardener. But many gardeners just focus on watering with a watering can, which is perfectly fine. Just remember to have it somewhere where you'll always remember it so your plants don't get drought stressed. And when it comes to either method, just remember that that weather and environment is going to be so important to know that if it just rained, you're likely not going to need to water your plants. So just keep an eye on the soil, keep an eye on how moist it is, and plan your irrigation system or your watering schedule to fit that accordingly. One last tip for your plants and irrigating them is to make a slight depression around each of your plants. And what this will do is it will help you gather water when it takes time to permeate into the soil and help you save a little bit more water with your irrigation. If you'd like any other tips or just any general advice on how to set up irrigation or watering schedules for your plants, please feel free to reach out to your local county extension office. We'd be happy to help you out.